everyone, so today I'm here to share with you the way that I make my study guides. If you're wondering, I'm going to be a sophomore in college, so I definitely have experience in making these study guides, and I'm not here to trick you. Honestly, these are really good study tips. So a part of learning how to make study guides is learning how your teacher or professor teaches. Some teachers or professors teach in a way that is conducive to reading the textbook while also reading their notes. Some teachers make you just read the textbook, while some teachers you don't even need to read the textbook. Keep that in mind when making study guides. You might not have all the information in your notes, so you might have to refer back to the textbook and vice versa. So the things you will need are pens, pencils, paper, notes from previous lectures or a textbook and just whatever else you think you'll need to create pretty notes. You are creating this to study, and you need to have organized flowcharts, diagrams, pictures, and phrases and definitions that'll help you remember for the test. So I'm not going to exactly go along each line of the textbook, writing every note down. What I'm going to do is show you my old notes from past semesters and really tell you how it helped me improve my grades and stay on track. Just a hint, these study guides are meant to be made after you take notes in class. They're not to be made while taking notes in class, just because when you're taking notes in class, your mind isn't exactly there. You're just focused on writing down all the information you can so that you could study it later. I recommend taking basic but detailed notes in class. You don't have to be perfectly neat. You don't have to color and highlight and all that stuff. What I do recommend is that you take your sloppy notes from class lecture and your outline from the textbook and merge them together. If the class that you're studying for, you don't really need that textbook, I've had those classes too, then don't waste your time, of course, but make sure you understand what you're doing and make sure you're not sabotaging yourself by not reading the textbook. If you don't have to read the textbook, I recommend just making sure you have all the terms and all the stuff that the teacher or professor lists in the notes, and making sure if there's a study guide or some type of vocabulary definition sheet on the school portal, that you have all of that in your study guide so that you have a complete work of information that is ready to be studied for the test or exam or final or quiz coming up. But for biology, I took really sloppy notes either in a notebook or my laptop. After the fact I rewrote my notes. For Biology 1, I didn't read the textbook, which was probably a mistake on my part, but instead I found a supplement to it. Online, my school had an affiliated website that had lecture videos. It was a graduate student who I guess has a major in biology. What he did was he created a portal online for lectures for general biology. So taking my notes from in class and taking my notes from online, I merged them to create the perfect study guide. These are my biology notes, nothing special. Some sheets are nicer and neater than others. However, as you can see with the flowcharts, I feel like this is pretty organized. You can see the steps of the process, and you just have extra information written in pencil and pen. Isn't a lot of color going on. I really just put color where it really mattered, highlighting the arrows to make sure that if I glimpsed at this page that I knew the proper steps of this process. As you can see in this one, this was about threats to biodiversity. So I had 1, 2, and 3. These were all examples of threats to biodiversity, so I organized it in a way of a list. I also use arrows to just show when things lead to another thing. I do have packets. I really love packets because if I'm studying for a quiz that day and I just need, let's say, 2 topics, animal behavior and conservation biology, I'll just take these packets and run with it. If I have to go to the dining hall for a meal, I'll just take this and I'm ready to go. This is what I love. I love writing my outlines on huge lines and just going for it. That is one way. As you can see, I did very definition and outline based study guides, but I also did study guides with flowcharts. So as you can see in this one, I did flowcharts. I don't think flowcharts should be used for every occasion, but this one was gene expression and there were a lot of steps. So as you can see, I did a main topic here, and then I did, the definition of that. And then I started outlining it with my teacher's notes and the notes from online. So as you can see, there's always usually an intro, and this chapter happened to have important people. If there was an important concept, I would definitely highlight it and star it. Asterisks to me are very important, and when I see an asterisk, I'm like, I put that there for a reason, so I definitely recommend using that. As you can see, I use little arrows, and I'm really happy with the way this turned out. This is really fun to study from. There's like genetic code, and I just have arrows, and I love the way that turned out because it was really easy to follow. This is another really fun study guide. So if you have a chapter that needs both lots of definitions and lots of diagrams, this is the way to do it. What I did was I put like loose leaf or whatever, and then I just put all the definitions down in outline form so that you're not writing chunks of definitions. That is really important. Do not chunk writing because you will not want to read that part again. I like to put boxes over really important terms. I'm just saying mine aren't perfect, but this is the way I study. Then you see during this interphase, I did a little bit of a flow chart. And then this. This is my pride and glory. I mean, if I were to redo this neater, it would have honestly been framed, but I just love the way I did it. It's not perfect at all, but this is very important. So I talked about the phases over here, I did diagrams over here, and I did captions kind of. So this is really cool in my opinion. So that is basically how I studied for biology. So next is how I studied for social sciences and humanities. So what I really found that was important was reading the textbook. Even if it was a class like sociology that had really like interesting discussions and just things you see in everyday life, I still made really good study guides with them just because I was interested in the subject and I felt like reading the textbook was enjoyable and necessary. So first things first, what I did for sociology is different from what I did for lifespan developmental psych, just because sociology I felt like we needed to read the textbook to answer some of the detailed questions. So what I would do is I would read the ebook and outline it while keeping in mind the notes that she gave us. She as in my professor. So I took our class PowerPoint notes and merged them together with the textbook notes. So what I would do is read the textbook while reading alongside the notes in class, making sure like the bullets and the titles and the subtitles match up. And any information that her notes, the professor's notes, were lacking, I would add the textbook detail. Like if there was a really good example from the textbook, I would add that to my study guide. Just because, I don't know if this is just me particular, but professors do like to throw in random detailed questions from the chapter to make sure you're reading. And I had to outline my entire lifespan development textbook. It was really hard to get through the information, especially since my class is online and I had a lecturer that didn't lecture. I had to outline every single chapter and making sure that I covered every definition, every concept, every person. And these study guides were honestly very, very lengthy and not the best thing to look at, but I had to do it, I swear. And I really don't recommend your study guide looking like this because no one's gonna really want to read this entire thing. But since I did not have lectures, I had to use this as a way of learning. As you can see, this is just the sensory motor stage, and I just had to basically write everything on it and put some examples down. I really like the way it looks, but it was definitely really hard to study from. This is an example of a study guide for a social science class. As you can see, there's not really any math involved. However, there is a lot of detail and a lot of information to cover. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye!